Hello and welcome to the podcast. Today we are joined by the Digital Acquisition and Insight Director at Ideal Standard, easy for me to say, Mike Jessup. Mike's joining us to talk about all things digital, all things technology and what the future might look like. As usual, if you like what you hear, then please do like, please do share and please do subscribe. And with all that said, welcome to Tomorrow's Workplace today.
Yeah, because that I think that's always been my test. If it would work online, and both parties can get what they want, and you don't mean like transactionally. Like many years ago, when you went on holiday and you took your holiday photographs, you would come back home. People would come round to your house. And you would literally show them the photographs, and you would both comment on it. You go, that was the hotel we stayed at. Yeah, that was Steve with no clothes on, all these things. And now, so what you get out of that is sharing your experience. And what you also get is your family and friends and people you care about contributing to that conversation. Well, that happens in real time now on everyone's phones. And yet we took the physical meeting away, and yet it still works, right?
I'd argue.
Works better.
I'd argue. I would argue. I don't know if it does work better. It does.
In the podcast.
No. But no. Well, we can do it.
But we're rolling already, aren't we?
I'm not being difficult.
Just before you be difficult.
Well, all right. I will be difficult now.
Can we all need to be about this close?
Sorry.
Okay. It's been an ongoing battle for me to try and make sure that.
The reason I would argue is, I agree with everything that's been said, but actually, going back, it's a brilliant analogy, actually, Mike. But that social meeting, that social gathering, I think, is what's being lost as we evolve.
I'm rolling my eyes.
Well, I know you are.
Well, so I think it's a valid point. What I'm suggesting is that any transaction, be it emotional, commercial, whatever, if you take away the physical meeting and both parties still get what they want, then it works online.
Yeah.
You know, like the idea of walking into a bookshop, browsing for hours to get books. Why did I have to be in the bookshop? If I can know what there is and I know what I can buy, and I give you the money and you give me the book, works. And the more I think about that, I think it
and the holiday photos works, doesn't it? Because it's
I think it does. Is it as good quality and all of that stuff? All the other additional halo benefits of seeing people. I agree. I don't think it's as good, but from a basic kind of what I want and what I.
No, it's good enough. How much?
It's good enough.
How good does the quality need to be for me to see the hotel you stayed at?
Yeah, and that's fair as well.
Barca.
And actually, the book analogy is what you get people to come around. Well, you go into a book and you talk to the bookkeeper. The bookkeeper.
the book merchant.
Yeah. You know, the shopkeeper. You know, who owns a book.
Yeah, let's call him Jeff.
Yeah, thanks.
Bezos.
Well, Jeff, you talk to Jeff. Oh, you know, what do you think to this book? And Jeff's either going to go, yeah, it's brilliant, and he's lying through his teeth, or he's going to go, do you know what? Yeah, we've had lots of people. It's popular. You go online, you've got 472, reviews, and you instantly get a feeling for what it's about, and suddenly you're well informed as to what the quality of the book is. So that's the advantage.
I'd argue it's better, right? Because Netflix is a really good example. YouTube's a perfect example, where they can recommend content personalized to you, and they use all of that data. So instead of walking to Jeff and going, Jeff, what do you think of this book? He's saying, this book is good for you because I know the history of books you've read, I know the conversations you've had with your family, and I know that you're a big fan of that author. Like, it works better because Jeff, although it was lovely to see his face, didn't have the historical data of the stuff that you enjoy. And I think,
and it happens in real time as well. But what I've noticed which is a bit annoying, using the YouTube example, is so like, let's say for a little stint, I get really into, I don't know, wilderness survival videos, right? And I watch like 5 or 6 30-minute wilderness survival videos in a row. The next day is 20% more wilderness survival videos on my feed.
Yeah.
And so then I watch more, and then I get more. And I find myself, sometimes I get to the point where I'm like, I'm really sick of wilderness survival videos, but I rely on my feed to recommend stuff for me to watch. And there's no variety anymore, because it's just giving me 90% of the stuff I'm getting. It's the same stuff. So now I almost feel trapped by the algorithm or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's a more significant kind of, it's one of those few things where a commercial desire to increase, view time, increase dwell time, has actually started, I think, to have an adverse effect. So, the few things that I look at when I'm driving is the road, obviously. That's somewhere on the list, I think. My speed, and there are a few things that always interrupt me. One is hazard lights, and one is a car crash on the other side of the road. Now, if that model was applied to me, it would go, you've got to show Mike more car crashes. You've got to, because he looks more intently at the car crash. He even slows down to look at the car crash. Showing more car crashes. And that example is where it doesn't work. And then you get the more extreme views. So it might be, I start in wildlife videos. I then look at, eating raw meat wildlife videos. Then it becomes hunting and killing wildlife videos. Then it's hunting and killing people wildlife videos. And before you know it, a guy who loved whittling his stick is now looking for someone to chop down. Not suggesting you would. But I think
I got close. But
I think kind of politically, that's where you get those kind of echo chambers kind of becoming more.
That's just laziness, isn't it? That's on you to break that cycle
no, because it's
search for other stuff.
No, because then you're blaming Bax's laziness against 500 people in a building, and that's their job. Their job, there are 500 people in a building for YouTube going, how do we get him to stay on a bit longer? If we can drop an ad in, that'd be great. How do we do that? Like, he's never going to win that.
Exactly.
There are people who are professionally focused on delivering.
You can't blame 50 blokes in San Francisco for your lack of creativity in terms of search.
But it makes it way harder, right? Because it's like, for example, how can we walk into the supermarket and there's these real high calorie, high sugar, very colourful treats all around, and our brains have evolved over hundreds of thousands of years to react very strongly to those stimulus. And that's no different. As Mike says, if there's a whole system and team in place that are just 1% incremental gains every day, all the time, and it will happen across the board.
To be fair, on the Netflix, we mentioned Netflix a bit earlier. What I do like about them is here's things that are on a similar vein to what you've watched in the recent past, and it's that percentage score, which I actually quite like, because actually it's like, do you know what? If it's a film or it's a box set for whatever reason that I'm watching, it's like, all right, that's a bit similar to the other ones. Suits, as an example, love Suits. So anything that's along those lines, perfect. That's aiding me, because actually everything we've spoken about so far is the way the world has evolved. We want things instantaneous. We want them probably before they're meant to happen. We want to know what's going to happen, and actually being in the know to go, do you know what? I'm not going to spend 20 minutes flicking through Netflix or the internet or whatever. I just want to get straight there. Taking the point that obviously you don't want 400 different views of the same.
That works as long as you don't share your Netflix account with your mother-in-law, I find, because then selling Sunset just appears everywhere.
I'd argue,
not speaking from experience,
but I'd argue it doesn't work. Like Suits, I don't know what Suits is, but what?
Like you got a law degree.
I don't mean I watch Netflix all the time. But there would have been a moment that you went, I'm going to try watching something like Suits.
Yeah.
Now, the opportunity for you to try something new, because I think is now less than what it was before. Zach, my 9-year-old, he is listening to Led Zeppelin, listening to Jimi Hendrix, listening to Metallica, listening to all these bands.
Yeah.
And yet, on Spotify, he will very rarely listen to a band he doesn't like. Right? And when you were driving in the car years ago, God, I sound like an old man, like on the radio, you would be exposed to stuff that you don't like.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay, because it's important to challenge whether you like something. How did you ever discover something new? To your point, you watch stuff like Suits, which means that it could be the best thing ever on Netflix. It could be something you will never watch, even though it'd be perfect for you, because you won't try something new. And I think, to Bax's point about wildlife videos, yours about Netflix and Suits, it's all the same. Like the chances of discovering something new is less likely, and then you start to get these.
But that's where you use your social circle, isn't it? Or you let your
100%
wife
recommendations.
choose the music for the night.
Well, you can't do that on your own, Steve. Like, this is what I mean. Like, surely there's nothing wrong about being exposed to new stuff.
Exactly, yeah. But I think you need to make to the laziness point, you need to make a conscious decision to step outside of your echo chamber and go, right, Nicola, Spotify is yours for you.
Yeah, but
we're all listening to Ed Sheeran.
But we're all watching and listening to the same stuff, basically, anyway, aren't we?
Hi guys, just jumping in, I want to talk about one of the services we offer, which is robotic process automation, also known as RPA. That is software that replicates human behavior. So if you've got people downloading spreadsheets, attaching them to emails, going on portals, downloading information, moving data around, all that stuff is perfect for a robot. So if that's interesting, get in touch. Let's have a chat. Let's see if we can help. Enough from me. Back to the conversation.
It's almost like Price's Law. It's like, you know, the 50% of the stuff that's out there is coming from, is like, that people are consuming comes from a small amount of producers. And, you know, everyone starts talking about, you need to watch Tiger King all across social media. Everyone's watching Tiger King. And then everyone probably ends up down that same sort of path. I mean, like what Mike was saying, it's true, because you know, I can just about remember these things called CDs. And, you know, when I used to buy one, there were probably like 2 or 3 songs that really stood out to me on the CD. And so I would just listen to those 2 or 3 songs over and over and over again until I couldn't stand them anymore. And then I would go, I might as well just check out these other songs that they didn't really hit me in the same way. And then on that second run, I'd then discover songs on the album that actually didn't catch my attention straight away, but turned out to be my favourite songs. Because the songs that hit, or the hit songs, are like designed in such a way that they are like, you know, they're like ear candy.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's some really great compositions and structures of songs, and, you know, that vocal intonation or whatever on song number 9 that I just skipped past 50 times in a row because I didn't want to hear it. And so even on an album that I bought from a band that I wanted to listen to, I still chose to only listen to 3 or 4 songs. It's the same reason on YouTube every thumbnail looks the same. Because it takes all of the risk out of the decision. Because you know, if a creator has the same style of video with the same thumbnails, same video length, and he's got 50 videos, then you can quite easily just sit and watch those 50 videos. And probably if you come across one that's just a bit random length, you know, slightly different thumbnail, you'll skip past it because you'll think, that's probably just some weird experiment that he tried to do.
Do you think the internet has made us impatient and lazy? In terms of shopping, we can't be asked to drive into town to go shopping anymore, can we? We just go online and just order it.
It's just
we don't want to listen to 11 songs on an album because we'll just listen to 3 songs that we know and like.
I don't know about. Well, you could counter that by saying, has it made you smarter and more efficient? In that actually, you drive into a shopping centre, you got a park, you got all that rubbish that goes with it. Whereas, tell you what, we'll just drop onto Amazon or any other sort of thing, and do you know what? I know I need an iPad screen, and I know I can get it, you know, at 10 o'clock at night, and I'll have it tomorrow. Whereas tomorrow I'm working, I've got to plan that into my thing. I think it makes you smarter and more efficient with what time we have, because ultimately in this current age, time's, you know, precious.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it certainly does make you more efficient, but I guess to the point Bax was making around listening to the song that wasn't your favourite song, that's a less efficient use of his time if you measure his life by what percentage of his time listening to music does he listen to the songs he likes. Now that I don't think is a good metric for listening to music. Like, although it's very efficient and more efficient, you could argue the fact he doesn't have to go and lift the needle up and put it on a vinyl record and he can just press a button, that's even more efficient, right? But then we shouldn't really be measuring ourselves on how efficient our life is. No. Commercially, I think it's different. But I think in personal leisure time, the idea of going, yes, I've got an efficiency score of 98% this week because all I've listened to is the stuff I've listened to before. Like if you take that example into somewhere it doesn't happen at the moment, like a restaurant. So we'd all go into a restaurant, and because of all the things in that backseat and all the things you've eaten, all the things you've eaten, all the things I've eaten, we don't get a menu of 10 things. We get a menu of 2 things, and they go, "Oh, well, Steve, for you, it's
either or,
because that's what we know you like." Well, then, there goes trying anything new. Like that just doesn't feel right. And unfortunately, I think a lot of certainly social media platforms and ad platforms especially, they do that too well to a point where, like I say, you can, if you look at something out of interest, then suddenly you get more of that stuff, and you go, like, I was only really just poking at that. That isn't I'm not really interested. I was kind of more intrigued.
Intrigued, yeah.
And now you're building a tent in your back garden out of trees or whatever.
So does that make us, because we're sort of, if you work in marketing, then you're complicit in that system.
Oh, massive hypocrite. Yeah, massive hypocrite. I think there's a difference between what you do for leisure and and what you do for kind of, I guess, commerce or buying. I think that is slightly different. My challenge is really around the attention economy. Because I think that becomes a real issue. And I'd love, and it may be something that could work, but I'd love the idea of having a Spotify account where you get the stuff you're not going to like. You want to get that old radio experience again? Yeah. Well, there we are. You've listened to Jimi Hendrix, you've listened to Led Zeppelin, all these bands, and then suddenly we go and throw in some Chopin or some ABBA or whatever. And you might get loads of skips. But if you don't get some skips, then I think that's a better, fruitful experience. Because otherwise, you'd never listen to a Ringo Starr song. You'd just listen to...
Did he have any songs?
He did, Obla-Dee, Obla-Da, and Octopus's Garden. No, but he wrote those for the Beatles. Right, yeah. But they must be the most skipped songs on Spotify because no one wants to listen to his. And I think it's a damn shame because they're caucus.
I think that, to be fair, I don't know if they've still got it, but they implemented something like that on Netflix recently, where it was just like, if you couldn't pick, because obviously, like on Netflix, you almost get like I don't know if this is the right term, like a choice anxiety or something. Yeah. Because there's so much to choose from.
The paradox of choice.
Yeah, you're just scrolling forever, and they added this feature where you could just like surprise me basically, and it just. But then I still got caught in a loop because it would like preview what I was going to surprise me with, and then I'd be like, no.
To be fair, I'd even settle for less than a surprise. What I really want is just an app where I have my Prime account, my Netflix account, my Disney account, and I log on to that. I give it to my other half. She has access as well on her phone. And we both say the things that we want to watch. That's all I want to do. And then when we come to sit down of an evening, instead of wasting half an hour going, what do you want to watch? Just go, let's consult the things that we've both agreed on independently and let's watch that. Because again, that paradox of choice kind of gets in the way a little bit.
So how does this play out, the paradox of choice, how does it play out in your world day to day in terms of e-commerce? Because we live in a world where you've got Amazon that have got God knows how many products nowadays.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, for us on Amazon, you almost have these different kind of customers, right? You have, and we talk about intent quite a lot in our business, because if people are searching for your brand, job done. You're going to try. They're pretty much guaranteed to sell, and then you have unbranded terms. So people who don't know what they want and don't have the product. Then you obviously have the people who we really try and get, which is the people of our competitors in their heads, and then we try and persuade them to get something else. And I think that paradox of choice kind of gets narrowed by their search queries. So there's a wonderful graph which just shows long tail searches. So you might have someone searching for toilets. We'll get 50,000 searches a month. In there, there'll be loads of people who don't know what they want. And then to the far end, you've got people who want the Ideal Standard, Eurovit, and they type that in. Or even the SKU code, they even type the code in. And they know exactly what they want. That volume's a lot less, right? But the ones where you kind of, when you get down this graph into smaller, more specific searches, are they looking for it in black? Are they looking for it with Chrome? Are they looking for all these little bits kind of narrow the choice and narrow how many people are competing for those terms, but equally dials up their intent. So now we know the perfect product for you. If you search for a black toilet, for example, or matte black, well, there's only probably 10 products on Amazon in the UK that you'd be able to get those from, whereas toilets, you could pick thousands from China, wherever. And I think we're probably getting used to being more specific in our searches. I mean, the biggest trick the search box ever did was making us think that no one else was listening to it. I'd love to go and scroll everyone's Google search history, everything, over the time when you were worried that you were ill, that you had a spot on your bum and you didn't know what it was. All these things give this intent away, where Google have all the information, but with Amazon, they pass that straight onto the vendors, straight onto the brands, and go, yeah, that's what they were interested in. That takes about 10 days between researching and buying. Well, let's dial up our brand visibility then in between that time period, because if they're considering that purchase, then that makes sense. The airlines are classic examples where, you Google, 4 seats to Italy, and you go, oh, that's £800. Okay, I'm probably not going to get away with spending £800 without speaking to the other half. Can we go to Italy for a week? Yep. Come back and book it. It's £880 now.
Mm-hmm. Is that a myth or is that true?
No, it's fact.
It's completely true. Completely true. And because that's a considered purchase. And the moment it's a considered purchase, the moment that I want to get in front of customers, at that point, if people are searching for competitor products, I want to be upright in centre, trying to steal them. And we have an exact product to product mapping of our products versus competitors. Constantly looking at price points, constantly looking at promotions to try and steal that at the point of purchase. And the Amazon product page is a classic example there, where there's more images of ads on the Amazon product page than there's of their own products, because they're so competitive. And
so using an American election analogy, do you go after the swing states more, or do you go after the states that are definitely going the other way, but you want to steal them away?
So it's both. So with Amazon, they have a couple of metrics that they kind of throw around from an advertising perspective. One is ACOS, which is the cost of goods sold. So how much are you paying to get that sale? So when it's our own brand and we're protecting against competitors, we'll probably look at 10%. Well, you're probably going to buy from us anyway, but to avoid us getting stolen by everyone else, we'll sacrifice a bit for unbranded, the swing states who don't know really what they're looking for, you can 30% cost of sale, but then for competitors, well, let's steal that share. Let's really go after that, and we could be more aggressive. It's harder. The conversion rates are lower, but as a result, you kind of get a better kind of domination of the competitor. Yeah.
And on that, do you in the trying to steal the competitors' market share, if you will? I'm guessing you must have analytics as to you get them. And do you have the ability to understand how long, whether you win them on the first one and they come back? How's that?
Yeah,
that seems difficult.
So the great thing is I've just gone and critiqued, YouTube's use of AI, and then I'll go, but we've got one for Amazon, it's okay. So for us, we run all of that activity through an artificial intelligence platform that will say, when we used that product against that product, that was the win rate. This was the win rate with this one. We changed the copy. We did a bit more, and over time, it starts to learn, and then starts to get almost an efficiency level where you go, actually, that's as good as it can get against that product. And for me, that's been one of the best ways of freeing up our colleagues' time. I've been saying, because doing that manually over 1,000 products is it's just something you can't even do. No. And it just feels like that platform has just allowed us to really scale and then get the guys focused on the things that really matter around, do we want to introduce new products there? How do we dominate that? What can we do with these things? It's more strategic. It's kind of...
Guys, just jumping into the conversation because I want to offer you a job. Well, not quite. But I do want to talk to you about Spectrum Digital. We are a business that is growing. We're an exciting business, and we're a business that is looking for top talent. We've got a great team here that are passionate about business, technology, and automation. We're passionate about making people's lives easier at work. And we're looking for people that are like-minded to come and join the team. If that sounds like you, then slide into my DMs, let's have a conversation, and I may well be offering you a job. Enough from me, back to the conversation. So what variables are you letting AI play with then? Are you saying price is over to you, ChatGPT or whoever it is that you use? You said descriptions, copy, attributes. What are the variables that AI is looking after?
So there's a couple of things. So I guess for advertising, it's very much like an auction. Okay, so if we're all competing for the same phrase, you might say, "Well, I'm going to spend £1." And we'll go, "No, I'll spend 110." That's go, "No, I'm 150." I'll go, "Well, I'm 111." And the AI will go, "Well, no, we'll go 111." I go, "Why 111?" You go, "Well, if Bax sells out at 150, then we're next." And Bax, we know his sellout rate's 80% because you don't buy enough stock. So let him eat away his share, and then we'll get our share, and we'll bump our price. And so it handles all of that in real time. Amazing. Which makes sense if you're selling the same product and you know that your competitor is selling it for £10. Well, sell yours for $9.98. Get that buy box on Amazon and really drive that. So we use it for everything. We use it for the bid price, so the auctioneer. We use it what he's bidding on, so what people are searching for. The AI might want to bid more for the black toilet than just toilets as a generic term. We'll change the product it's looking to bid with because it knows better. The only thing we don't do is change the price because that's an Amazon controlled price. But what we do is we say, this is the threshold that we want you to play with. And bizarrely, when it gets started, it's missing metrics all over the place, and people in the organisation are going, "We're missing out. This is terrible." And you're saying, "Look, just give it 10 weeks. Give it 10 weeks, and it'll do enough." And then 10 weeks, and we are far higher than we ever were. So Amazon give a really good metric, which is ROAS, which is return on ad spend. Okay, ROAS. That's all I talk about. And it's for every £1 you spend, how much do you get back? That's all. That's all.
In terms of revenue, or
in terms of revenue.
Revenue. Okay.
Yeah, so revenue. So it's a good point. Good point you raised that. Yeah, and that we've seen campaigns kind of double over a 3-month period. So for every £1 we're spending, we're getting 6. Now for every £1 we're spending, we're getting 12.
Because of AI and the power in that engine.
Yeah, and all that's been is, what has it done? Well, it's done a few things. We can list them all, but it's far beyond that. And then to get to that point around people who buy over a longer period of time, it goes after them like nobody's business. It really is quite aggressive.
So is this tool part of the Amazon?
No. So it's outside. So Amazon have their own platform where you can manage it, but in reality, they kind of give you the tools, but not necessarily the best tools you could use. They want to kind of keep it in their platform, but you can use an API to a third party tool, and that will say, okay, well, we'll do it our way and see what happens. So, a good example on Amazon is you say, I want to bid £1. And they go, okay, you want to bid £1 every hour of the day? You go, yes. Do you really want to bid every £1 every day? What about like 3 a.m? If someone's half cut, wondering if they can change their bathroom, well, I don't really want them, because they're not going to convert how I need them to convert. However, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock at lunchtime at work, perfect, and that return on investment, is 3 times, 4 times higher than those kind of lower times. So just little things like that where you go, if I was to tell my team, we've got Amazon in 5 or 6 markets, right, so you're going to have to turn that campaign off at 3 a.m, turn it back on at 6 a.m. I mean, they won't talk to me, so I think that's really where it's kind of leveraged. And I've always felt that when we've used AI tools, it is like outsourcing the jobs you really wouldn't want to do to a system that just does it, and it does take people out of that process, because you can't scale that without just saying, okay, the manual tweaks, those things, the checking, let's give that something let's just give it to an AI, and we can focus on the other stuff.
Very good. One of the things you said when you came in was that the internet has removed the need for a middleman in a lot of markets. And explain what you mean.
Yeah, so I've watched a few of your videos, and I always imagine you guys kind of sat on kind of outside in Texas somewhere on a little rocking chair, not rocking horse. That'd be strange. Going, well, this is the way it is. This is how things are, and we may do it when we're older, Stephen. And for me, I'm showing my age, but when I joined digital marketing 22 years ago, it was a very different place than it is today. But the fundamentals that I've always had a test, which was, if you can take the middleman out and both parties still get what they want, it will work. And that process and that kind of view is obviously fits really well with Amazon's a great example.
That's what I was going to bring up. Yeah. If I want to buy a product and I don't care about who I get it from, well, it works well online. Booking holidays, comparing hotels, doing all that stuff has taken the travel agent out of the game. The estate agent, the traditional estate agent, has been taken out. And I remember years ago, maybe about 10 years ago, thinking I would never buy a car though. Like, there must be a point where I would spend money, and then over that I'd go, no, I need to touch it. I'm not going to spend 10 grand on a car. And then last year one got delivered to our house. Used, with a guy who was perfect. I go, well, so what happened there then?
Did my tolerance to, no, I need to touch it, I need to feel it. You know, people are buying houses without seeing them. You know, that process has now completely shifted how I approach kind of what I buy, and as a result, that model still remains the same. And you know, we spoke about the Facebook kind of pictures or going on holiday. There's loads of old key events that, or I say important life events, that are now being mirrored online. And the things where you go, oh, maybe I won't buy it. Like, would you buy an engagement ring online? Oh, maybe not an engagement ring because I don't want to see what it looked like on my hand. So the guys are doing that now. So the guys you can stick your hand there and you can see what it would...
It's like glasses, isn't it?
What it looked like. Yeah.
Yeah, you can now imagine what it... And you're like... Wow,
yeah. I mean, I still buy the bad ones, but still. Like, it's one of those things where you kind of think anything where there was the... Oh, no, I'd have to see that in real life. Digitally, we are putting effort and infrastructure in. You know, I used to work at a place where we had, you know, you could buy patio pavers and you could stand outside and get an AI experience of what that would look like, and you can drag it and drop it in, you can do all that stuff because people really wanted to see what it would look like, and you kind of go, well, how far can we push that?
Is it because content's got better to allow that to happen, or is it because society's got more accepting of it?
Well, can I add a third? If we take the car analogy, the reason that people are now comfortable to do that is because back in the day, you go onto the forecourt and you go, yeah, I've touched and felt that one. I know nothing about cars, but I've touched it, I felt it, it's real, I'll go with that, like the mileage. Whereas now, from what I've yet to buy one online, but from what I can understand is they'll deliver it to your door and you've got like 28 days or something to go, do you know what? I think it's that whole experience of buy it, try it, if you like it, keep it, brilliant, we keep it going. Or, do you know what, if you don't, and you found something you don't like, and I'm sure in the T's and C's there'll be some very hidden things, we'll come and collect it. And that gives the consumer that confidence to go, do you know what, I don't have to see it physically to start with, because I know I've kept my receipt. Oh, that shows my age now. Kept my receipt, and I can take it back and go, do you know what, it doesn't quite meet what I thought it was from the pictures.
Yeah, I think that's definitely an element. I think it's all three. I think, to be honest, these types of things are like the sort of defining sort of, they sort of define this generation, actually, because it's not just what can I buy online and how many middlemen can I cut out in that sense, but also, you know, Uber, Airbnb, Deliveroo, whatever. All of it is about either cutting out a middleman or utilising something that you already have, which is also cutting out a middleman. You know, the Airbnb, for example, even the idea, will you have people come and stay in your home? Maybe you won't. You know, but, you know, 10 years ago, would we have strangers invite them into our home, let them stay there for a week, pay us 500 quid or whatever, and then off they go? Would we drive around picking people up, random strangers up, and dropping them off, you know, where they need to be? All these things, they just kind of make sense to this newer generation who are more concerned about, you know, the climate and not wasting stuff, and, you know, unnecessary sort of excess and all these different things. Like, I mean, and aren't really bothered anyway. Like, a car's a car. They pretty much all do the same thing now. You know, years ago, sure, like, if you don't really know anything about cars, you're going to get mugged off. But, like, nowadays, a car's a car.
They're pretty good, aren't they?
They're pretty good. Yeah. There's lots of buffers in place.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. If you needed a taxi, I mean, just the idea of ringing a taxi and speaking to someone and then telling them where you have to tell them where you were. I mean, that's so funny now to go, I'm here. I'm at my house where I've always kind of rang from, and then obviously they ended the thing on the telephone where they go, "Are you at so and so?" And you go, "Yeah, press 1," right? And you could do that. Like, you know, that person doesn't have a job now. The person who was picking the phone up, and I think that driver is always going to be the one. And I think you're right that content's got better and technology's got better to do it, but it's almost self-fulfilling. You want to improve the efficiency, and therefore you find best content to do that. I don't necessarily think, that holding your hand and AI came about just, as a laugh. They went, here's a prototype, and they're going, well, we could use that to sell glasses. We can use that to sell rings.
Are there any industry sectors that haven't been kind of digitized yet that you think in the next 3-5 years will, jewelers being replaced by online jewelers? Where's next, do you think?
So I talk about this quite a lot around kind of the digital maturity curve.
Yeah.
And when you think of the likes of Amazon, of maybe ASOS for one, maybe some of the SaaS companies, where they are really at the bleeding point of technology in terms of personalization, in terms of operations. I just think that technology just seems to fall down and will kind of tumble down. So the idea of getting personal recommendations for what people need to order next for their business. I'm surprised we don't have more kind of subscription-based technology that we have it in Amazon. If you have multivitamins, you can get them ordered every month. Well, why hasn't that happened to? I was looking for stationery, but where
B2B.
Could that happen in B2B? Could that happen in Featherfield? I know there's a lot of kind of repair and maintenance forecasting that happens with large kind of industrial technology. So it'll probably fail at this point. But I think that there's a whole sway of technology that will impact kind of those further down the chain. Some more than others. But I think there's certainly room there. I think the exciting bit for me is the new things that come out. How you can then apply those to areas where they're not necessarily abundant. So we were talking earlier about AI now being kind of everyone's kind of okay seemingly of using that. And before I wouldn't want to go and buy a car without speaking to the car salesman, and now I'm buying it. I could easily imagine things now that we don't do online that we would now do with AI. I could certainly see getting would people be happy getting medical advice from an AI?
I thought you were going to say letting the AI buy the car for you and make those decisions.
Well, I mean, why not? I mean, I'm certainly more fallible than they are making the right decisions for me. God, am I bad at making decisions for me sometimes. But I think, it's the areas where you wouldn't go near it. Would you use AI? Speak to an AI to organise your funeral arrangements? Would you do it?
I'll be dead anyway. It don't matter to me.
Well, okay. Would your family do it, Steve?
Kids wouldn't care either. I wouldn't have thought.
But you go, well, actually, would they? Could you describe how what Steve was as a man? Obviously, no swearing.
Yeah.
And then would it have a better idea of what you would like? Sounds crazy. The idea that you would speak to someone, you wouldn't speak to someone about organising something like that. But you will.
It's doable though, isn't it? Look at my Spotify playlist. He likes John Lennon, so let's put Imagine on, and he likes Chelsea Football Club.
To be honest, the AI would probably know you better than anybody.
Yeah, probably would.
I would do it. I think it'd be quite good.
Yeah,
it reminds me, there's an episode of Black Mirror where they do something similar. It's pretty dramatic, to be fair, but they I think they call it a cookie, and so they extract like a copy of your personality. And then they trap this copy of your personality in this little device that they call a cookie. And basically, for all intents and purposes, it's you. It's a duplicate of you trapped inside of this little device that basically just lives to make your life better, to make sure that you get up at the right time, that your toast is cooked the right way, or whatever. But I would still probably do it. But the AI thing, buying your car, doing your shopping, blah, 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 I think that's great. But then it takes me back to where we sort of started this discussion, where then does the AI making the decisions for you become this like cyclical thing, like the YouTube algorithm, where initially it was just buying you a car, and next thing you know, you're like some school shooter.
Yeah, but they're two very different things. You've got your attention, right? What you're focusing your time doing. I don't think that's a good thing. That AI will then drive you to only listen to one type of music, or to vote red, or to vote blue.
Yeah,
like that. I don't think is good. I think transactional stuff, go nuts. Like, I think it's fine. The issue I have is not being able to stumble my way through my leisure. That's what I have a problem with in a way. But I think the AI kind of helping you choose. I mean, it's always a classic where, when you think about, I'll go back to Jeff at Amazon again, but when you see the personalization on Amazon, you go, you've looked at this, and here are other things that you've looked at, and you go, oh God, they know so much about me. Oh, it's amazing. You look at a hotel and you go, oh, now that hotel's following me around the web, and I'm getting, and you go, oh wow, this personalization's amazing. And that's the overt one. That's the one you recognise. The other one that you don't recognise is the cookie example.
Yeah.
Where they go, people like you, Steve, buy this. And you don't even know you want it yet. That stuff is scary because it almost goes unnoticed.
But that is where it's opening up new doors, new opportunities, new things you didn't realise you needed.
Yeah, but you're not deciding that, Steve.
Yeah, but
that's something else is.
I think maybe San Francisco does know more than me. They know we like similar sort of music, and they know what you like. So I'd like them to tell me what you like. Wow, I'll probably like it as well.
So you're going to surrender your identity to an AI?
It just shows me that door, doesn't it? It's like, do you want to listen to this?
Don't even have an identity to start with.
Can I just take you back to the thing we mentioned right at the very start, and you mentioned a couple of minutes ago, AI and going to see an AI doctor,
yes,
or a specialist doctor. Because I've been since we first mentioned it right at the start, I've been thinking about it, and I'm thinking, do you know, I honestly think that we're not far away from that, simply probably through necessity, because we're not getting enough people to be doctors or nurses or whatever. All right, the nurses might be a difficult thing, and your analogy earlier was pick the phone up to speak to an AI doctor that goes, I feel this, that and the other.
Yep.
What do I do? Go into a hospital or whatever. But I don't think we're far away. And actually, being the oldest one in the room, I'm thinking I'm quite open to that, because I think the learnings that it can do way quicker. So it's like having the best 50 specialists in, let's say, knee surgery, just as an example, that's all within this AI bot that can go, now, all right, 50 specialists, and they may all have a differing opinion, but hopefully the bot will go, or the AI tool would go, actually, the probability is that for his height, for his weight, for his history, sport, whatever, he needs to do this, and this is what we recommend you do. Yeah, I think that's exciting.
Well, that exists already, and I guess it's the where people can get it wrong. If you are looking, it'll be someone's job, a radiographer somewhere, looking at X-rays every day, and going, has this person got something really wrong with them? Does this have cancer in the picture? An AI can do it better.
Quicker.
It can do it quicker, it can do it better. But I don't care how quickly it does it. I want to care it gets it right. And if there's a 96% success rate that it's correct and the human is less, then I'm really struggling, especially in that scenario, to go why I'd want to go with the person. And that technology is fairly primitive in terms of all it's done is taken 1 million scans that have cancer, go, this is what it looks like. Whoop. Now have a look at this one. What do you think? And it has a better understanding. That I can just imagine that being rolled out into more and more.
Why isn't it already? I'm with you, because that does exist and it is proven to be more effective. But
isn't rolled out? Is it just humans don't want to trust it?
Well, I don't know. I don't know to the extent. I don't know to the extent to which it hasn't been rolled out.
Stuff just takes time, doesn't it? But like, yeah, the point where your wearables can just report to this, your own little personal AI assistant, and just say to you like, "Oh, I've noticed that like there's a higher level of sodium in your blood or your pee or whatever. You should probably get that checked out." But then take that step out, and it stops buying you. You've got IoT in your fridge, and it stops buying you, whatever, what
Salt.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It stops buying your salt. But then,
Okay, me again, just jumping in to talk about one of the processes that we often get asked to automate, which is the processing of supplier invoices, also known as accounts payable automation. So what does that mean? Well, most businesses receive invoices from their suppliers, and a lot of businesses still have people that are manually reviewing those invoices, making sure that they're correct, making sure they're accurate, and then manually rekeying them into a finance system or an ERP system. Well, our solution can automate that process. So typically an invoice will come in, we'll use capture technology to understand what's on that invoice. We'll then match that data up against goods received note to make sure that we've received the product. We'll match it up against purchase order data to make sure that somebody has placed an order for that product. And ultimately, if we can match that up, we can automatically push that into an ERP system or finance system, and nobody has to touch it. How good does that sound? If there are exceptions, if there are things that need to be checked, that's fine. We can use digital workflow to push that to somebody to eyeball it and say, is this correct or does something need to change? Ultimately, though, that can then be pushed again into an ERP system or a finance system. This is about making your life easier. It's about making operations as quick and as efficient as possible. And we do that all the time. If that sounds interesting, then get in touch. That's enough from me. Back to the podcast.
and that's probably the perfect sort of world, but I feel like it still does go back to that. Does it start to cross into surrendering your existence over to and your personality and everything? Because suddenly it's deciding what you eat, and then next thing it's like Skynet rising up to protect humanity from itself, and it all started from ChatGPT or friggin'
you'd have control. Well, you'd like to think you'd have control as to how far you wanted that to assist you.
Yeah. Yeah, but like Mike said though,
I'll be long gone when it's the other way, and actually
I won't be so sure. It might just keep you clinging on for long enough.
Yeah.
Just but the point is, I think that'll be really good. I mean, now we're getting into this fictional realm. What else should we get at? What other fictional stuff should we go for? Because I like that IoT sort of stuff and wearables. I mean, I think I'm the only one in here that wearing a smartwatch, to be fair.
I won't want them tracking me, thank you.
Good.
I've already got the tin hat on.
At what point do we not need these passes and we've got a microchip when we walk into the building and it all opens?
Yeah, well, Amazon have got those in the shop, haven't they, where you can just scan your palm.
Yeah.
And you don't have to pay.
I know in China they're just using facial recognition, which I think...
Mm-hmm. True, less invasive.
Madonna would struggle with that though, wouldn't she?
Yeah, true.
Shots fired.
Yeah, I don't think it. It's bizarre. Crazy. It's bizarre that we kind of. It's bizarre that we kind of hold those things anyway. Like you'd think, if you were going to draft it from the beginning, that started off as a key at one point that you had to put in the door to unlock. We kind of built on top of that, but you'd think if you were going to build it from the ground up, you wouldn't have a physical thing. You go, what do we need to do? We need to get Steve Motley into this building. Well, how do you know it's Steve? Well, he's got a pass. Well, what if someone else has his pass? Then that's not Steve Motley, and that suddenly breaks the first thing we wanted to do. Well, what if we just recognise Steve then and just let him in? Like, that's an obvious one, not the hang on, someone else has come in with Steve's pass and now they've robbed the place. Like, that's not good enough. Like, I'd argue. And it's the same with these things. The idea of going, we've got this incredible brain, we've got these 10 fingers we have, these are so quick at typing. Why don't we build something that just uses 2 points of data input? Right. Yeah, we'll use that. From the ground, if you built it from the ground up, you would not limit our experience on 2 thumbs. And it's why, why kind of the world of AR and Web3 and all that jazz is really kind of pushing that into that realm where you kind of drop this, where you don't need this. I know Google Glass was a bit of a flop, but I really like the idea of of trying to improve the inputs that we have. There's two inputs. Like voice search, I don't necessarily think does a great job. I always get freaked out when someone talks to something in the room and it's not me. I always kind of go, okay, that was strange. Yeah. Hi Siri, how long have I got left for the chicken's done? All kind of casual conversation and stuff like that. I don't like, but I think it's better. The input is better.
It is. I don't think the technology's quite there. Well, it is there yet, but it's not as rolled out as it should.
But I think if you could build from the ground up, you wouldn't use the two thumbs.
The problem with innovation in the past has been that they've taken what was there before then, and they've think, how do we just improve what's there?
Well, that's not the problem. That's kind of the issue we find ourselves. Like, I will tell you one of my top 5 analogies, if I can.
Please do.
It may be nonsense, but I'm going to say anyway because I think it's true. One of the Apollo rockets. You remember the Apollo was the one which had big rocket in the middle, and then these 2 little side rockets, right? Beautiful side rockets they were. And these side rockets were limited to how wide they could be.
Yes.
And they were limited to how wide they could be because they had to get it from where they built them to Cape Canaveral on the back of a train. And there was these lovely little bridges over the train tracks in America, which meant like it has to fit in there, so we're going to have to build them in that way. And the train bridges were based over the train tracks, and the train tracks were a certain width. And they were a width in America because they were the same width in the UK. They went for the UK width, not the European width. Southern Europe has wider trains. So hang on, the rocket that went up into space is built because of the width of the bridge and the width of the train tracks. And the width of the train tracks came from the width in the UK. So I asked, well, where did the width of the UK come from then? Because this is now starting to get me puzzled. And the width of the train tracks in the UK came from the width of the roads. And they used a measure. So if you go to any old road, certainly a Roman road, you will see 2 lines that go down these Roman roads. They're the widths of the chariots that went down on these roads. That width predetermined how wide a rocket could be that went into space. So the fact that innovation is built on something before, I think we have to go through that process. But now, if you were to take away that restriction, you have Elon Musk building, I think, the biggest rocket there will be, and I guarantee he ain't shipping it on a train. So I think it's part of the process. You have to build, stand on the shoulders of giants, is it? Famous
you do, yeah. But is Elon disproving that? He's not saying, well, I'm not going to. I suppose he's building on what's there, isn't he? But he's pushing boundaries a bit further than we have in the past, potentially.
I guess making stuff bigger, maybe. Finding out how to fire people and
pointier as well. I saw he made the tip of his latest rocket pointy, just because he saw it in The Dictator, that Sacha Baron Cohen film, where he's like, there's like some scene and he's like, it needs to be pointy. And he's like, yeah, but it's more aerodynamic. He's like, the enemy will never fear us if it's not pointy. So then he made it pointy because well, you need to make it pointy, laddie. Yeah. But
that's a brilliant story.
And that's really a really interesting analogy. And you just would never think that. What is that, like 2,000 year sort of?
Yeah, and the rest, yeah.
Roman, exactly, yeah. Potentially eons going. Everything's just stacked on stacked on stacked. I'm still wondering though, what's the system then to have a phone in your mind? When you were saying this, I was thinking you're right. But I'm trying to picture, like, what are we?
Well, this is where I need the whiteboard. So essentially, you just got to have your input, what you want it to do, and what the output would look like.
Yeah.
So for me, if I want to message someone, and I want to tell them what's in my brain, am I going to limit it to 2? Can't limit it to 2 because that just doesn't feel like it's enough. I write better on my keyboard when I'm working on my laptop. You go, well, the entire capability of my brain is now limited to 10 things. You are kidding me.
So about telepathy. Is that where we're going?
So like, I'm thinking if there's a route there, that would make more sense. You know, and then you can that's just words then. So are we limited it to words? Can we do pictures? Can we do what can we do? You know, the fact that an emoji and a GIF has become a thing, like blows my mind in a way, because you know where you kind of go Egyptian hieroglyphs, pictures of things. Egyptian hieroglyphs, pictures of things mean words to words to then pictures of things, and that mean words, and now just pictures of things. Like this is where we've kind of gone there, and I think that if you can build on that kind of what you want the output to be. If I wanted to tell you, Bax, how frustrated I was at you, what I would really want to do in a perfect world is get you to feel exactly how I feel.
Cast the emotion into
and just go, right, there we are. Bing.
Yeah.
And if I could do that, that'd be perfect.
Yeah.
You know, if I would, but I can't do that. And then you kind of go, well, where do we work from the output? Where do we compromise there? So it might end up being a letter or a GIF, depending. And then from the input, where do we go from just being in my brain to kind of the 2 thumbs? It just annoys me. And it also feels like these just get in the way of the experience. You know, the night guy with LeBron James and all that jazz, where he was LeBron became the biggest, I'm not a sports person, highest scoring basketball player in history.
Oh yeah, the other day, yeah.
And the guy from Nike is just kind of sat there watching, and everyone else is like, trying to put something in between. And I just think input 2 thumbs is just not good.
Can I ask a question, Mike? So
before you do,
all right.
Sorry, someone's gonna be in here for a meeting very shortly.
Okay.
So let him ask his question, and then I'm not trying to control the situation.
Yeah.
I just got the thingy board from the producers over there saying.
Okay, cool. So go on, ask your question. I need a quick answer. Or is it a quick question?
5 years time, you're using AI now to increase and enhance, user experience and client, selling and revenue, profit, etc. What in 5 years' time? What are you going to be using to take that to the next level?
A nice little easy one there.
Luckily, we've run out of time. You can mull that over and email me.
Yeah, I don't think it. If I knew the answer, I probably wouldn't be
sharing it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be here, would I? I'd be doing other things. But I think the idea of we've scrapped the middleman, we've scrapped that person, and then seemingly with ChatGPT, we've scrapped the person that we didn't think we would ever scrap. we didn't think we would ever do it, and I kind of think that everything's open now. The fact that there is solicitors that do the buying a house process, that to me is bizarre that a human does it. Just feels crazy. This idea of someone goes, I'll go and check if it's flooded in the last 10 years. Right? No, I'll print the report off for £100 or whatever. Right, I'll go and see if you have to pay for the church roof, because that's an important thing. Right, I'll go and check a record. No. Right. Are you happy with the price that you've suggested? Yes. Are you happy with the price that you want to sell? Yes. The fact that is still done by people kind of blows my brain a little bit. And I think, for me, the areas where you think they would be protected the most from disruption, I think they would be in for a shock. Anything that is systemized, that is a routine part of your job, I would say that's fair game for technology, and you'll get to that point where does that mean that you're freed up from a leisure time perspective? Does that mean that you get a universal income? Like how that goes, I'm not sure, but I think from what I've seen with the rise in kind of marketing technology, there's no one is safe in my view.
Love it.
Brilliant.
Point on
Thank you
killing
very
off
much.
solicitors. I think we should finish it there. Thank you very much, Mike.
It's all right. It's been a pleasure.
Cheers.
Thank you.
We've enjoyed that.
That was great.
He stole your thunder at the end there.
He did, yeah. He asked my question.
Because you didn't get to it. You asked his question.
Yeah.
And you halved it.
How did I
Don't
halve
look
it?
so shocked. You know what you was doing.
How did I halve it?
Because how does it end every
I
podcast?
didn't last time, to be fair, with Philly B. I didn't do that one.
Well, and
Did you not do the 10-year thing?
No.
And in fairness, with the way technology's going, Mike had trouble answering it in 5 years' time, so asking him in 10 years' time.
If that is the real Mike,
That's it.
might just be an
I'm not
AI
even here.
avatar.